Greetings and welcome to another exciting edition of Poet to Poet. I'm Robert Dunn. I'm still the host after all this time, still crazy after all these years, etc., etc. And I'm glad to be with you again. I've got some marvelous poets, and we're in a marvelous location, the Orange Bear in Lower Manhattan, just down the street from City Hall, where even Rudy drops in once in a while after a hard day of legislating. Fortunately, we can entertain anybody with our guest today. We have Diana Manister over here, and in matching leather, although they've never met before, Bob Quattrone.
Hi.
Over there. Hi. We're excited to have you, too, because you've got some dynamic stuff to share, I'm sure.
Lovely to be here.
Yes, why don't we start off with Diana, since she's already made a play for the microphone there. I've seen her make many plays.
Shut up.
A few double plays.
Shut up, Robert.
In a nice way, I mean.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
What else?
All right, let's see. You're a painter and a poet.
Oh, yes.
She paints her own clothes.
Yes, I do.
As you can see.
And paintings.
A member of the Academy of American Poets. How'd you get in there?
I scented my dues.
Yeah, we write a check, and there we are. I'm a member.
Thank you so much for asking.
I'm a member of the Laughing Academy of American Poets, which entitles me
I
to
can
ask.
believe that.
Which entitles me to ask such questions. Let's see. You studied poetry with Herbert Leibowitz.
Yes, he publishes Parnassus, a poetry magazine.
Any relation to Fran?
Not in the slightest.
Fran Parnassus, I mean.
That's right.
Not Fran
No,
Leibowitz.
not Fran, no.
Daniel Halpern.
Teaches a workshop at the New School.
Martha Rhodes.
Teaches a workshop at the New School.
Oh, you've been hanging out at the New School a lot.
Yes, hanging out at the New School.
And you have a master's degree in romantic poetry. I imagine there was a lot of field work in that. She'll get me.
Robert, my friend, Robert.
She'll get me for this.
Oh, yes, I will.
And did her thesis on the poetry of John Keats.
Are you going to ask me how much a Grecian earns?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you very much.
Because basically it's earn, not earns, when you do that gag.
Oh, I see.
There are all sorts of questions. There are all sorts of questions I could ask. But what is your interest in Keats?
My interest in Keats?
Yeah.
Well, he was a great genius. He did brilliant poetry in his 20s.
Yeah.
And I think of all the English Romantic poets, he was the most modern and has the most to say to poets writing today.
Well, I think it's all very well to say that he did his best writing in his 20s, because I think he died at 26.
This is true.
We didn't get a chance to really find out what he could do in his 30s. But
This is true, Robert.
But let's find out what
You're so erudite.
Are you sure?
Yes. I can tell.
Maybe I could slip off to the drugstore and get something for that. But let's see what you can do in terms of poetry.
Oh, thank you. In terms of poetry.
How about a
yes.
poem?
Okay, well, these poems are all about relationships I've had with men.
Oh, you flatter me.
I wasn't speaking of you, Robert.
That's a relief.
And this first one is very spooky. It's a sort of gothic horror poem. Are you very frightened?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I would be.
Very, very.
They get much more upbeat and lighter as we go along.
Well, let's have it.
It's called The 39 Steps, as in the film of the same name.
Oh, I thought it was a 39-step program.
No, I did that one too, but this is about the film. Ready? Listen up now.
Mm-hmm. I'm all ears.
It's not what I hear. Once upon a time, some intellectuals met once a month at the Algonquin Hotel to discuss the ending of the 39 steps. But really, what is the point of speculating? The ending is what it is. Like it or not, just as it is. In the beginning is the end. Perhaps it could have ended differently. The director, however, was amused by our terror of the birds, the wings that come in the night, the sharp beak, the carnivorous stare. Director of darkness. Could it have ended differently? Perhaps if the cold eye and the beak in the heart, the birds with an appetite for the tissues of the heart were not waiting between your house and mine. I was unaware the predator was watching, but the claws uncurled, a flutter unfurled, a cry was heard in the night, and another dream was eaten to feed an appetite. And that was the end and the only end. The meat was pulled from the bone. And even though a bunch of silly intellectuals can speculate to chase away their fear, There is blood on the grass, and a dead eye reflects the moon. However, can something be said for it? Was it darkness we let out of ourselves? Let something be said for it. Consider the beauty of bats circling under the stars before dropping down to feed. And what was killed but all the notions of ourselves we thought we saw in movies and in magazines, so romantic and so kind? Consider the burning of illusions about the self. There is a time for tenderness. That was not the time. That was not the time to write a story or a screenplay with a sentimental plot. That was the hour of the panther, pure in its need to sustain its life with food. And who is to say there is no mercy to that kill? When there is weakness and stumbling where life is ending, who is to say there is no mercy in that act? Consider the purity of the action. By such purity, we will be redeemed. Lady, the bones are radiant like ivory crosses on the altar. The bones picked clean are glowing like opals in an icon illuminated by fire. Get thee into the rock, the saint said, and hide thee in the dust. Perhaps the director knew about the saints. I think he knew about the saints. Why else would he show us fear on an ordinary day? That darkness could come at any time on an ordinary day like a total eclipse of the sun. There is darkness all around you, make no mistake. There is fire all around you, make no assumption of safety. At any moment, cracking open the sky. Consider transformation by fire. Consider what is in the darkness. Consider predators dropping on you from the sky. By sacrifice of will are we redeemed. The bones are radiant, lady, like ivory crosses, and opals in an icon illuminated by fire. Get thee into the rock, the saint said, and hide thee in the dust.
And that's a relationship poem?
Yes, that was a relationship. It was not a day at the beach, you might say.
Boy, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for one of those dates. Tell me, Bob, is it true that you had a pair of shoes that once wore out within 39 steps?
It's possible. I've had some funny pairs of shoes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what other men have you gone out with in these poems?
Okay, I went out with a motorcycle man.
Uh-huh.
Very alluring,
Mm-hmm.
dangerous.
He was a big wheel, wasn't he?
He was a big wheel. And this is about him. On the motorcycle with Jim.
Ah.
I, a kite, strung to a body, flap to the storm of you, flutter near your ear, more than which only moon has heard, fall through your eye of sky. I, only a notion of airworthiness, torn, rest in your steady breath.
Did you get the ride on the handlebars, or did you have to ride on the trunk?
No, I got very sore riding on the back of it, and my knees got all squished up.
Oh, squished knees, huh?
Squished knees, yeah, it was not fun.
Mm-hmm. How do you determine the defining moment that turns a relationship into a poem?
Heartbreak.
I thought it was the knees breaking or something.
Well, first the knees and then the heart.
The knees are always the first to go.
The knees are the first to go, yeah, you got that right.
And when you're not seeing anybody, what do you normally write
That never
about?
happens.
Never?
Never, no. No, I never let go of one until I have the next one by the hand.
And you don't go off into the Great North Woods or something like that and rent a cabin and say, I'm going to write the Great North American novel.
No, I never do that.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to settle for another poem then.
G.
H.
Sorry. Okay, this is the same guy, the motorcycle guy. And
he lasted a long time, didn't he?
yeah, about 6 months, actually.
Okay.
And it's about two people with two totally different notions of what they're doing in the relationship. One likes the security, and one hates security. So this is called Jimmy in the Snow. Walking with you, I remember, along 3rd Avenue near Gramercy Park, our reflections in a store window framed, a couple in love. You didn't see it, you were off, moving between taxis, loving the randomness, the lack of containment, your head turning this way and that, easy with danger. I felt the wind. I pulled my jacket tighter against the cold, but you were off, your head in a halo of snowflakes. With physical grace and all other grace, you crossed 22nd Street against the light, easy with danger, loving the randomness, the lack of enclosure, moving away. Bye-bye to him.
Then he hit a pothole and flipped over.
Served him right.
In all the time that you spent in your studies, I want
Yes.
to change the subject for a moment. What is the most important thing that you found out about poetry?
That it's about us and not about me.
Hence relationships.
Yeah, but I try to write about my relationships in a way that everyone can relate to use a very unhandsome phrase.
Uh-huh. All right.
Is that all right, Bob?
Suddenly,
Rob.
suddenly my mind went blank. I was.
It's so lovely to be here with the two Roberts.
Do you have a short one?
What? Oh, a poem.
A poem.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
It's in there somewhere.
It's coming right up. Just tell yourself a funny story.
In the meantime, I'm going out and lube my motorcycle.
Yeah, right. You wish. This is called Noah in the Ark, Jonah in the Whale, and it's a tribute to that great artist, Lena Horne. I saw her in concert, and she is a survivor. She lost her husband, her son, and she's wailing away, keeps on going, and I think what keeps her going is her art. When Lena sings Stormy Weather, it rains, children, doesn't it rain? You know it does. That man is gone. Sweat runs down. Rain, rain, rain. And he ain't coming back. That man ain't coming back. It's raining all the time. You know it is. Lena, teach us to ride that flood. Oarless, safe, and rising.
I often wondered what would have
That
happened.
seemed to depress you, Robert.
Oh, I'm just generally depressed.
I
This is my only fun, coming out here and doing.
Oh,
doing
I'm so sorry to hear that.
No, I mean we get you, we get Bob, we get all kinds of great people on this. What are your future plans for poetry?
My future plans for poetry in general?
Yeah.
That it should continue.
Books, film scripts.
Oh, you mean my poetry?
Yes, of course your poetry.
Oh, just to write like hell, just write and go out with more men and get more poems.
But listening to you is anything but hell.
Oh, my sweetheart.
Okay, Diana Manister, I want to thank you for being
And
on.
thank you, Robert.
Poet the Poet. We'll be back in a moment with Bob Quattrone. Don't go away. It's going to be very interesting. Not that it hasn't been.